Go where your best prayers take you, unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you're precious and learn to trust. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, this is Dr. Phil Hour. Tell me, how are you really this morning? I know, and Jason has some music for where we are this morning. All right, Jason. Okay, there's always next year. It will get better. Man, I tell you, I couldn't sleep last night. Okay. All right, that gets the football fix over, and I hope you can move on from that. It's hard. I think a lot of people stayed in bed this morning. Oh, my goodness. Heart goes out to Butch and the staff. All right. But you know, it's been a great week. I mean, it's been a powerful week in America about the Pope being with us and what celebration and, you know, just something lifting up. What a great time to be with him, be a Christian in the world, listening to his witness. Whether you agree or disagree, he is asking and evoking great thoughts and great ideas among total numbers of people. Just amazing, and the media paying attention. It's been a really neat week. And, you know, within that, I had asked you last week, I don't know if you pay attention to the social media or anything we send you. You probably don't, but I asked you to think about a story of yours for this week. Just a thought that the staff, we've been kicking around, kind of something unusual, but to think of a story of yours. You think of a story and bring it with you today. Of something powerful, important, meaningful, of a time, an event, a circumstance. Some of you are shaking your head. The rest of you say, what in the world are you talking about? So anyway, had we won that game, I was going to do something different this morning. I'm not doing that this morning. I literally was going to have you preach in this way. I was going to have you turn to somebody and sit and tell the story. So I want you to pretend as if you have done that. Because I know you probably wouldn't do that. Tom said, they're not going to do that. You know, okay. But see, Tom is a realist and I'm not. I mean, let's get it. He said, you're dreaming. He said, good. 8 o'clock said, don't mess with us. Don't be doing that. They were not even kidding. It's like, do not even do it. Arthur Seymour said, it's a good thing you didn't do that. He was not joking. I thought, oh, man. All right, so I want to play as if you've done that. And sometime I'm going to get you to do that because I think sometimes we don't stop to do that very thing. Stories are everything. They are what it's all about. That's why we're here. Stories, week in, week out. But it's not other people's stories. We're really here because of your story. You're here because of your story. And I hope, because you're not alone, you're here because of other people's stories. And stories are yours. They are yours. You own them. They belong to you. They belong to you. And it takes a while to decompress them sometimes, to make sense of them. So to get you to think about your story, and I really mean that, I'm going to just tell you a snippet, a little one of mine. It's a more powerful one. In fact, it's actually pretty powerful. But I could have thought of 20 or 30, actually, but this is the one I chose. It was 1982 or 3. Some of you know I was the rector of a little small church, Redeemer Church in Shelbyville, Tennessee. It was Good Friday. Again, it was 1982 or 3. It was Good Friday, and we did the Good Friday liturgy. We would do the book liturgy out of the prayer book. We had a big crowd. I think there were 10 of us. That was a big number in Shelbyville, believe me. I think we had 120 people in the congregation. And then after we finished the service, I had to run errands, and we were thinking about decorating on Saturday, you know, getting ready for Easter. And so I'd run errands. I came back to the office, and remember, this is before cell phones, so you have to remember cell phones around. And so the phone rang, and it was Tim Graham, who's the dean of students at the Webb School. He said, John? I said, yeah. He said, Katie, Allison's been a wreck. You need to come to the hospital now. I said, oh. I said, oh. He said, no, now. I said, okay. Hung up, got in my car, my little Ford Fiesta, took off for the Bedford County Hospital, which was just a few minutes away, not very far. And as I was driving, it's a beautiful day. I mean, spectacular day. Crystal clear blue skies, balmy weather. But the forecast was anything but. They said this monstrous storm is on its way. And I was driving thinking, where's the storm? This is crazy. It's gorgeous. So I get to the hospital. When I got in the hospital, then I was filled with dread because I walked in and every person in the emergency room stopped and looked at me and went, uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. And there was students from the school, there were staff from the school, there were a couple of extended family members. Her uncle who taught at Webb School was there, and it got dead quiet when I walked in. And I went, ooh. So walked up to the nurse at the desk and she said, doctor wants to see you now. I said, okay. So I went back into the emergency room. There's Katie. She looks fine. She's awake, a little in shock, I can tell, not quite. Beautiful 16-year-old girl. And he looked at me and he said, we got to have help now. I need to move her now to Nashville. She's got to go now. He said it 3 times. I said, well, we're trying to find the parents. They work for the AP. They were writers for the AP, and they were out on assignment out of Nashville. They were somewhere. One was in West Tennessee. I don't know where the other one was. They were in the country somewhere writing their articles, doing interviews. So we can't get the parents. He said, I have to have permission to move her. Is it going to be you? I thought, And then it hit me. Grandparents. She has grandparents here. And then as soon as I said grandparents, I realized I'm going to have to go tell them. And I said, by the way, why do you need to move her? Said, she can't feel anything below her neck. So I go back out, and Tim Graham's with me. Tim's there, and I said, Tim, you're going with me. I've got to go tell Katie's grandparents what's happening and get a signature so we can get her moving. So he gets in my little Fiesta. We start across toward the horse. I don't know if you've been to show, but we go toward the horse show grounds. We get in front of the horse show grounds. We're driving along. Well, then the storm just hits. I mean, at that moment, 5 minutes, I'm in a drive, the bottom falls out. You ever been in a car wash in your car? Not exaggerating. That's what it was like. It stopped, and all of a sudden I'm going, and I had to just stop. I stopped in the middle of the street. I was about 2 blocks from our grandparents' house, and I thought, well, can't do anything. Sat there. And then it started thundering. Lightning was constant. It was literally constant. And what I'm going to tell you is really true. The next thing that happened was my little Fiesta started bouncing. Boing, boing. Literally leaving the ground. And Tim, I looked at Tim, and he has white knuckles. He's going out the door. And I grab his shirt, and I physically yank him. I said, Tim, you can't get out. We are in a tornado. I didn't even know what I was saying. A tornado was passing over our head. He stays in the car. Thankfully, we don't flip over. We sit there for a second. I'm shaking. It kind of stops. The rain abates a little bit. And I think, I still have a job to do. So we drive on up the street. We can now see the black cloud just a little ahead of us. And it literally looks like it's about street level going down the street. And I'm going, good gracious. We get 2 blocks up, turn into their antebellum home driveway. And a 250-year-old oak tree is laying across the road. It has missed their house, though, but it took out their big tree. So we get in the house. They think we've come because of the thunderstorm, tornado, and then I have to immediately tell them because it's an emergency. They are really neat people. She was a really neat woman. And she wrote an article, by the way, in a Hollywood trade magazine about movie stars out of Shelbyville, Tennessee. It's fascinating. She's a neat lady. She got together really quick. Granddad did. They said, we'll go back to the hospital. Jumped in the car, went back to the hospital, signed everything. Ambulance heads off. I call Lois. I head off. We get to St. Thomas Hospital, and then it just starts picking up speed. By the time we get there, half the world, I think, is heard. I'm telling you, there are 50 students already at the hospital. Staff is already there, and you've been in one of those things that just gets bigger. And they take her in, examine her. The doctors come out and say, we think it's really serious. We need to go do surgery and see if there's anything we can do right now. We think something's severed or torn. We've got to go now. And by this point, no parents. And about that time, the mom comes and then the dad comes. And I won't play the scene, you got the scene. You know what happened. Then it gets more tumultuous. And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. So then they kind of get it together, and the doctor's going, hey, you got a minute or two, but we've got to decide this. So we need to do one more exam. Another neurosurgeon came in. They had this big team. Stroll in, they're trying to figure out, and they're in her room. I'm in the hallway with all these people, and then someone says, John Ross, they want you. I said, what? So I go in the door. Doctor says, come here. I walk over, and Katie's there, and Katie's been alert and talking a little bit, but you can tell she's still in shock, really afraid, deeply, just terrified. And he says, something just happened. I said, sir? He said, she can move her feet and hands. And he said, she should not be able to. He was not kidding. He said, I have no idea what just happened. He said, but tell her about there, relax a minute, calm down, By this time, the parents had kind of been ushered out. Go get the parents, bring them back down here, please. We're not going to do surgery. We're going to hang for a minute. Well, wonderfully, that minute turned into a lifetime. She's an adult, has kids, things worked. She had to do a lot of therapy. To this day, all the doctor would say, and I would see him on different times cruising through the hospital for the next weeks, he would just say, have no idea. I have no idea what happened. So, then, the final part of the story. We go, and everybody's worn out. It's late on Good Friday night. By this point, it's like 9:30. Everybody's starving. I say, why don't we all go eat? So family, there's some staff members who are kind of like family because it's a small community. We all found a restaurant. We drove to the restaurant. We asked them, would you stay open a little longer? We're just need to eat. So we sat down, and somebody said, gosh, I wish I could have a beer, but it's still Lent. I said, guys, this is easy. Lent's over. Easter is here. Let's have a beer. So, that's my story. And what I want to say to you, you may have a story in mind, and I hope you do, that if I ask you right now to share it, you could. May not be that powerful, may not have all those pieces, but I can tell you, when I tell that story, you can see it, can't you? I'm back in it. It is still part of me. It still has a hold of me in a way that I can't even tell you why. And it's not so much that she had a healing. I think it still would have that had it been another outcome. Some of your stories don't have those kind of outcomes. But you know what happens with time? Stories mean something different when we look back, don't they? Don't they? When we look back, all of a sudden we see things or know things we did not know at the time. And that story has spoken to me year in and year out. I never forget it on Good Friday, I promise you. I'm always thinking, what did I learn? What was I taught? You know the one thing I haven't said, right? The G word, the God word. You see, in stories, and I'm going to invite you to think about this, about your stories, because that's why you're here. You are here because of your story and stories. Your story. That's why you're here. I always ask people, where was God during that? What was God about during that? You see, what stories can do when we slow down with them, we have to slow down with them, though. They take a bit of reflection over time, is that we see the story. Then we see a little connection of something. Then we see meaning. And I promise you, when you ask the G word, the meaning will always turn to some form of gratitude. The worst things that ever happened to me, literally, I have gratitude for. But it took a long time to get there. And if you're in a place where the story that's most on your heart isn't there, it's okay. But gratitude is about that God is working, not fixing everything. I told you a fix-it story, so it's a feel-good story. But God's at work. We're learning, we're growing, we're seeing, we're expanding all the time. It is that all the time in process. That is why you're here, to be reminded to bring your story with everyone else's story. And God adds himself, God adds God's self to all of that. That's what we do. We connect our story, we connect meaning, we connect gratitude, and then maybe we can begin, to have a little more thankfulness about our journeys. Listen to Tom preach. Listen to Chris preach. Michelle preach. Josh preach. Week in and week out. It is a repetitive thing. Aren't we thankful for who we are and what we have together? Over and over. Guess what? I just gave you a stewardship pitch. Because that's what stewardship is. Not kidding. Stewardship is when I reach inside of myself and find gratitude and respond. That's all it is. It is what I do with what I have, money, time, talent, energy, creativity, prayers. It's all of that. But it's out of gratitude. I can make you feel guilty. That gets about 1 second of response. And then you don't do it anymore. You go do something else. Me too. Somebody makes me feel guilty, promise I go do something else. Gratitude is mine. It comes out of my story. grounded in God, as each one of you is grounded in God. And I promise you can find the gratitude within the body of your story and stories to be thankful for what you have. And then it's simply that we want to respond. We want to give something back. That's all it is. It took me 35 years to finally figure it out. I've preached about 700 sermons on the topic. This one finally makes sense. I hope it does for you. And I hope today that you will connect a little gratitude. Hang around after the service. Tell somebody a story. 2 or 3 people did that after early church. Said, let me tell you my story. They were wonderful. Sometimes a little more painful because, see, they needed more time of reflection and distance to get a bigger perspective of what did I learn? What did I receive? What was God about? Because God is always about something. No, God is always about someone. And that someone is you. You. Johnny, you. Jerry, you. Every one of you. Amen.